This presentation will analyse historical newspaper articles covering the 1989 murder of Edward Baldock in Brisbane, Australia, to demonstrate how the media can influence society's understanding of crime and justice. The murder was committed when 4 women enticed an intoxicated Baldock, who was on his way home from after-work drinks, into their car through the promise of sexual favours. They subsequently drove him to a park where it was alleged Tracy Wigington stabbed him to death. It was claimed Wigington then drank Baldock's blood, culminating in her infamous title as Australia's lesbian vampire killer. The designation lesbian vampire killer advances numerous presumptions about Wigington and reveals how the media communicated this crime to the public at the time. Initial coverage of the crime, such as a 1990 article from the Canberra Times titled "Man Killed to Drink His Blood," didn't reference vampire as such. However, it was implied by the language employed. The article also referenced photos of cemetery headstones in the possession of a co-accused. On the same morning, the Sydney Morning Herald published an article titled "Student Drank Blood of Victim," which accentuated graphic details of the murder and included allegations of a goat sacrifice. Notwithstanding these differences, both articles sensationalised the incident, instilling it with a mythical horror element. Furthermore, the vampire connotations demonstrate how the media can present the public with what Surette holds to be a marketed and narrow slice of the world. Other articles also highlighted the bizarre circumstances of the incident. For example, in 1991, the Canberra Times published an article titled "Woman Like Movie Vampire," which included testimony that Wigington clicked with vampires due to her thirsting for human blood. Depicting Wigington in this light dehumanises her, and as Verhoeven contends, provides an example of the media exhibiting a dichotomous and value-laden view of the world. A 1999 Courier Mail article titled "Wild Women" also reflects this approach, describing Wigington as a devout Catholic with an obsessive interest in the occult. Moreover, in 1991, the Canberra Times headlined an article "Woman Drank Blood," which described Tracy as a vampire woman who drank blood like a shark in a feeding frenzy. These articles reveal the tendency of the media to dehumanize certain individuals by merging reality with the mythical. As Surette might argue, this constructs a crime reality at odds with the social reality of crime. For example, vampire-related or stranger-on-stranger murders are not commonplace. Surette also discusses a concept termed symbolic reality, which is the reality individuals construct through their experiences with other people, institutions, and the media. This concept is crucial to the media's depiction of this case. Baldock and the 4 perpetrators were the only individuals physically present during this crime. Nonetheless, readers are presented with the symbolic realities of the authors, witnesses, detectives, judges, and so forth, consequently contributing to their personal symbolic reality of what they believe happened. Interestingly, Wigington never admitted to or responded to the allegations of vampirism, exemplifying the power of the media to influence the symbolic reality of the public towards crime and justice. Alongside the vampire element, news coverage emphasised Tracy's gender and sexuality as a motive for her conduct. Tracy was depicted as a rejection of gender norms by assuming the role of powerful, murderous perpetrator, which is usually attributed to men in media crime narratives. A 1996 article from The Age, headlined "When the Victim Kills," expressly acknowledged this perception, stating, "Women are expected to be nurturers, mothers, carers, not killers." Some academics view this as the media depicting female killers as an aberration of true womanhood. Consequently, when women kill, they receive far more unforgiving media coverage than their male counterparts. Another pertinent element of this case was the prejudicial commentary on Wigington's sexuality. For example, a 1991 Canberra Times article titled "Woman Like Movie Vampire" described Wigington as a lesbian who killed for blood, whilst another titled "Vampire Delusions" described Wigington's accomplice lover as a woman with whom she had an intense relationship at both an emotional and sexual level. The article also included a co-accused statement that Wigington dominated her. Notably, in 1991, the Canberra Times also released an article headlined "Angry Lesbians Harass Victim's Family," which referred to harassment directed towards Boldcock's widow. These representations implicitly infer that lesbianism is somehow connected to this undesirable conduct. These reports would have vilified individuals that identified as lesbian at the time. The language and tone of the articles imply Wigington's violent tendencies and murderous urges were somehow connected to her lesbianism. Significantly, academic Catherine Farr has held that the coverage of this case presented lesbians as abnormal, corrupt, and violent. Using Surrette's analysis, these representations potentially amplify a symbolic reality that unconventional sexuality is a threat to society. Regarding victimisation, Mr. Boldcock was presented in media coverage within the narrative of the innocent, blameless individual who stumbles into victimisation due to the urges of a predatory criminal. In 1990, the Canberra Times depicted Boldcock as an old council worker who was found dead, naked and alone in a park under the headline "Man Killed to Drink His Blood." A previously mentioned 1991 article from the Canberra Times titled "Woman Drank Blood" emphasised how the women were out to find a victim and that Boldcock was simply present and intoxicated, insinuating his fate was largely unavoidable. Significantly, the victimisation narrative extended to Wigington's accomplices, who were portrayed as passive and vulnerable to her. For instance, an aforementioned article from the Canberra Times in 1991 titled "Woman Like Movie Vampire" reported that Wigington's invalid pensioner lover was infatuated and dominated by her. Finally, it's relevant to acknowledge broader policy concerns reinforced by the reporting of Mr. Boldcock's murder. In a 1991 article titled "Laws Should Be Amended," the Canberra Times linked the issue of dangerous criminals like Tracy Wigington with the need for harsher penal and parole laws. This displays how the media can highlight and link competing social constructions. Here, they have linked dangerous criminal behaviour with a broken justice system and inadequate punishment mechanisms. This presentation provided insight into a range of techniques the historical print media employed to present a crime and justice issue to the public in the early 1990s. Such evaluations are valuable to understanding the power of the media to influence society's crime and justice reality. Thank you for watching.